Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Silent Tech Automation. So in this today tutorial, the main agenda is to discuss below topics. So that is what is white box testing and why white box testing is required, what is black box testing, why black box testing is required, and what is a system testing, classifications of system testing, and what are all the types of system testing, that is functional testing and its types, and non-functional and its non-functional testing and its types. Okay, before going to start this tutorial, so please drop a like for this video and watch till the end, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel Silent Tech Automation. So let's get started with our today tutorial. The first agenda is to discuss about what is white box testing. Okay, what is white box testing? So the testing performed on the source code by developers to ensure developed code is producing the right output or not is called as white box testing. What is white box testing here? Testing performed on the source code by developers to ensure developed code is producing the right output or not is called as white box testing. Okay, white box is white box testing is conducted by the developers on the code what they developed. Okay, that code will tells us about the developed code is producing the right output or not. Okay, it will give you some confidence that the developed code is producing right output or not, then it is called as white box testing. For example, as a developer, I developed one login page with some programming language, either it is C# or Java. Okay, with the help of these two programming languages, I developed some source code for that particular login page. Okay, so I need to test to be perform on the source code. Okay, to be perform on the source code. So after performing on the source code, it will give us some confidence the developed is code is producing the right output or not. If it is producing right output, so then we are going to the next step. Okay, if it is not producing the right output, so again we have to have some look into that particular piece of code, that is source code. Okay, so here white box testing will also called as clear box testing. So white box testing can also be called as clear box testing. So in interviews, the interviewer will ask you about, tell me about clear box testing. So during that time you don't have any confusion, clear box testing and white box testing both are same only. So here unit testing and integration testing collectively called as white box testing. Here unit testing and integration testing combinedly called as white box testing. Okay, here white box testing equals to unit testing plus integration testing. Okay, then the next testing is unit testing. Okay, so here unit testing means a smallest piece of code in the source code of the application, like functions or procedures or tables. So we can consider all these as units. Okay, a smallest piece of code. For example, I created some piece of code for some functionality, so that we can call as one unit. So in the same way, I created some functionality for table. Okay, I created some small piece of code for development of table, so then we can consider it as an unit. And also for procedures also, if we create some smallest piece of code, so then we can call it as unit. Okay, so here every program unit will have some business logic. For example, if I create some small piece of code for login page, so that will have some business logic, right? For login we'll do some login functionality. Here every program unit will have some business logic. Programmers will execute this code and check the developed code is producing right output or not is called as unit testing. For example, for login page one piece of code created, for home page one piece of code is created by developers, so they will consider all these as units. So for each unit, whether it is producing the right output or not is called as unit testing. Unit testing also called as component testing as well as module testing. Okay, unit testing is also called as component testing and module testing. Okay, so the next slide is integration testing. So here once all the unit all the smallest piece of codes to be tested, so then developer is going to integrate all these smallest piece of codes, that is units, right? Then check the overall output at code level called as integration testing. For example, I created one small unit for login page, I created one small unit for home page, and I created for small unit for logout page. Okay, so these are all the 3 units. So once these 3 units tested successfully and it producing the right output, so then what the developer will do, developer will integrate all these 3 units into single chunk. Okay, that is one main unit. Okay, all these 3 units combine together and create some chunk or unit, that is called as integration testing. Okay, so with the help of all these three, like login page, home page, and output, I mean logout, so with the help of all these three outputs, with the help of all these three outputs, we can call it as integration testing. So why this white box testing is required? Okay, from development point of view, as code visible, finding errors and rectifying errors is so easy. Okay, white box testing why means, as code is visible, finding errors and rectifying errors is so easy for developers. To minimize the mistakes as many as possible, at least one time code need to be tested to ensure 100% code coverage. Okay, to minimize the mistakes as many as possible, at least one time that code need to be tested to ensure that 100% code coverage. Okay, suppose for example I created for one login page, I developed one piece of code. So from development point of view, developers will be able to see that developed code, right? So during that time, so they can ensure, they can able to minimize the mistakes as many as possible. So this login page at least to be tested one time, so that it will ensure 100% code coverage. So that is why we need this white box testing. Okay, so then coming to black box testing, so which is purely for testers only. That white box is completely for development point of view, whereas black box testing is completely for testers. Okay, testing conducted on the developed application by the testers. For example, developers developed some e-commerce application, so that developed application, that is e-commerce application, where we are going to perform some testing, that is the called black box testing. Okay, testing conducted on the developed application, that is e-commerce application, by the testers. On e-commerce application, as a tester we are going to conduct some testing, so then it is called as black box testing. Okay, so during this testing, whether the developed application is meeting the customer business requirements or not is called as black box testing. Okay, testing conducted on the developed application by the testers and by end users to make sure does the application is meeting the customer business requirements or not is called as black box testing, right? So here black box testing also, here black box testing is also containing two kinds of testing. Okay, two kinds of testing, that is system testing and user acceptance testing, collectively called as black box testing. Sorry, I made a mistake here. Instead of white box testing, it should be black box testing. Okay, black box testing is commonly called as system testing and user acceptance testing. Okay, here black box testing is a combination of system testing and user acceptance testing, so then it is called as black box testing. So now why we need this black box testing? Okay, as we can see already, in white box testing programmers checks the code in a technical perception, whereas in black box testing testers validate the application in an end user's perception. Okay, so during the white box testing programmers check the code in a technical perception. Okay, what they developed the code, so they will check in some technical perception, whereas as a testers in black box testing, testers will validate the application in the end user's mind, in the form of end user's mind or end user's perception. For example, I am the tester, so where I am going to test one application which is developed by the developers, so I have to test this application with the concept of end user's perception. So how an end user will use that application, in the same way I have to test that developed application. Okay, so here programmers like developers will always test the code in a positive perception. Whereas as a testers we are going to test the application in a negative perception where there is a chance of finding more defects. Okay, programmers will always test the code in a positive perception, but tester whereas testers will test the application in a negative perception where there is a chance of finding more defects, right? So white box testing object is 100% code coverage, but whereas black box testing object is 100% requirement coverage, whether all the requirements is meeting properly or not, okay, as per the customer requirements. Okay, that is about black box testing objective. White box testing objective is 100% code coverage, black box testing objective is 100% requirement coverage, right? So the next one is here under black box testing, as we discussed already, that is system testing and user acceptance testing, collectively called as black box testing, right? So under that system testing, so we are going to discuss about system testing now. Here system testing means validating validating functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Okay, system testing means validating functional requirements and non-functional requirements, then it is called as system testing, right? System testing also can be classified into two types. The first one is functional testing and the next one is non-functional testing. Okay, here what is system testing? Validating the functional requirements and non-functional requirements of the system is called as system testing. System testing also classified into two types. The first one is functional testing and the next one is non-functional testing. So now we can see about what is a functional testing. Okay, functional testing, it is a process of understanding the customer business requirements and end user expectations, then validating the functionalities in our product to make sure all functionalities are working as per the requirements or not. Okay, functional testing, what is a functional testing? It is a process of understanding customer business requirements or needs and user expectations, then validating the functionalities in our product to make sure all functionalities are working as per the requirements or not. This is called functional testing. So for example, there is let us consider one example, that is IRCTC application. So for this IRCTC application, we have to check for some new user, that is station, login, booking a train ticket, cancellation of train tickets functionalities. Okay, these functionalities are working or not. In this approach we are called functional testing. Okay, for example, IRCTC application is there where some new user log into that application, or where new user trying to book a station, book a station, and he's tried to log in and he tried to book some train ticket, and also he is going to cancel one train ticket. So these are all the functionalities where we are going to check whether these functionalities working or not. Then this approach is called as functional testing. Okay, here what are all the different types of functional testing or functional testing types or methods? Okay, so under this, smoke testing is also comes under functional testing. Smoke testing, it is a kind of quick test or a rough test performed on the given application to ensure whether it is eligible for further testing or not. Okay, one second guys. Sorry guys, someone knocks the door. So what is smoke testing here? It is a kind of quick test or a rough test performed on the given application to ensure whether it is eligible for further testing or not. For example, I can have some 10 test cases. Okay, out of 10 test cases I will do only 5 test cases. I will test only 5 test cases to make sure that to make sure that our application is eligible for testing all these 5 test cases or not. Okay, I am not going to test all the 10 test cases at a time, so I will check only for 5 test cases. Based upon these 5 test cases testing, so I can conclude that whether it is applicable, I mean whether our test cases are eligible to test these functionalities or not. Okay, so what to be verified in smoke testing? So the things what we need to be verified in this smoke testing, we have to check all the basic functionalities are available or not, and we can check application is consistently operatable or not. Okay, so what to be verified in smoke testing, we check all the basic functionalities are available or not, and we check application is consistently operatable or not. Okay, then the next type functional testing type here is formal testing. So formal testing means if we test an application by following all planned testing procedures and prepared documentation, then it is called as formal testing. Okay, what is formal testing? If we test an application by following some documents such as FRS documents or BRS documents and also some testing procedures, right? Then it is called as formal testing. In simply we can call formal testing how means simply writing test cases and executing test cases. In simple words, what is a formal testing? Writing test cases and executing test cases is called as formal testing. Okay, so the next one is ad hoc testing or informal testing. That is, if we test an application without following some procedures and without following any documentation, means no test cases, then it is called as ad hoc testing. What is ad hoc testing here? If we test an application without following any procedure, without following any documents, such as without creating any test cases, then it is called as ad hoc testing. Here, this ad hoc testing is suggested for small projects which need to be only one time tested or really tested. Okay, this ad hoc testing is suggested for small projects which need to be only one time tested or it is really tested. So then the next functional testing type here is, I mean then the next system testing type here is retesting or confirmation testing. Retesting is also called as confirmation testing. In interview, if interviewer will ask about confirmation testing, means you can tell retesting about or confirmation testing, both are same only, so you no need to be confusion during your interview. So confirmation testing or retesting, both are same terms, right? So if we test a functionality repeatedly again and again, then it is called as retesting. Okay, if we test a functionality repeatedly again and again, then it is called as retesting. Retesting will come in following situation. Okay, retesting will come in following situation. The first situation is here, testing the functionality in modified build to ensure prepared defects are resolved or not. Okay, testing the functionality in modified build to ensure prepared defects are resolved or not. For example, I found some defects on the current build. After we assign it to, after we reported this to developer, so then developer started and fixed those two defects. So after that, what we need to do? We have to retest whether the reported defects are resolved or not. So this is called retesting, and also this is the situation when we will do this retesting. Okay, the next situation is testing a functionality with multiple inputs to ensure all customers business conditions are correctly implemented or not. For example, there is some login functionality, so where 5 customers are using this login functionality. Okay, 5 customers are trying to log in to their accounts. So all these 5 customer login functionalities which are working fine or not, which are correctly implemented or not, then it is also one situation where we have to do this retesting. So this is all about retesting. So the next one here is regression testing. Regression testing is the most important for all the automation testers and manual testers. Here regression testing means it is a process of identifying various functionalities in the modified build to confirm that a recent programming coding changes not adversely affecting the existing features. Okay, what is regression testing here? It is a process of identifying various functionalities in the modified build to confirm that a recent programming code changes not adversely affecting the existing features. That is called regression testing. So then the next concept here is non-functional testing types. So far we discussed about functional testing types. So now it is the time to discuss about non-functional testing types. So here under non-functional testing types, the first one is here user interface testing, is also called as UI testing. User interface testing is also called as UI testing, right? So user interface testing or UI testing. So these are all comes under non-functional testing types. So here validating appearance look of the web pages is called as user interface testing. For example, in some web page, so whether all the web elements are properly added or not, all the text fields or text alignments or menu bars, so which are all properly aligned or not. So we are going to validate all these with the help of user interface testing. So then the next testing here under non-functional testing type here is, it is usability testing. Okay, what is usability testing? It is a process of checking does our application is easily understandable and operatable by end users or not. Okay, for example, there is some non-technical guy, so where he is trying to use some application. So for based upon his knowledge, he is also be able to our application in a clear way. Okay, and also he can able to operate it very easily, which means as an end user, whether the application is understandable, whether the application is operatable or not. So we are going to test with the help of this usability testing. So the next one is here security testing. Security testing means security testing is a process of checking whether all the required security conditions are correctly implemented or not, right? Security testing, it is a process of checking whether all required security conditions are correctly implemented or not. So for example, there is some checklist of security testing. The first checklist here is check the data entered in security fields like login password, transaction password, credit card CVV numbers, etc. are getting encrypted or not. For example, if I am logging into one application, so where there are some security checklists whether those input login passwords is, I mean, username and password, as well as CVV numbers on credit card, as well as transaction passwords is correctly encrypted or not, and also checking browser navigation after logout. So after I log out, whether it is navigating properly to the login page or not. So this is also one checklist under security testing. And also check right click option is disabled or not. For example, if you can consider one banking application, so there some right click is disabled or not. So due to some issues, due to some security related issues, that right click option should be disabled. So we are going to test with the help of this security testing. And one more checklist here is check for authorization and check for authentication, and also check virtual keyboards captcha and OTP is implemented or not. Okay, so these are all comes under checklist of security testing. So here what is authorization testing? It is a process of checking whether the admin able to create new login accounts or not. So as I am an admin, so I can give some permissions for only few users, and also I can be able to create some new users for new login accounts. Okay, here admin can be able to set permissions and not, I mean, here admin can able to set some permissions or not and change permissions or not. We are going to test all these under authorization testing. What is authorization testing here? It is a process of checking whether the admin able to create new login accounts or not, and also admin able to set permissions or not, and also admin able to change the permissions or not. Suppose as an admin I want to give permissions only for few people, and also based upon these few people I can able to change their permissions by the next time. Okay, first time I gave permissions to 5 users, so the next time out of 5 persons I will give only 3 persons, means I will give only permission to 3 persons, right? So here in this scenario admin can able to set permissions, and also admin can change the permissions or not. Here, what is authentication testing? Here, authentication testing is a process of checking does a system able to recognize registered user or not, okay, and providing right information to the right users or not. Here, uh, as I am trying to log in, if I logged in already, I can able to enter my password or not. After login, I can able to access my account or not. Okay, for example, I am logging with my account. Instead of my account, if I am logging in, I mean, if this application is taking me to some other accounts, so during this time we need to check this scenario also. That is called as authentication testing. Based upon the login user, he can able to get his proper information or not to the right person or not. So we are going to test all these under authentication testing. So the next one is here compatibility testing. Compatibility testing means it is a process of checking whether the application is properly visible and properly working on different devices, on different environments, on different operating systems and different browsers or not. For example, I can consider Amazon application where I am trying to open it from my browser, and also I am trying to open it from Chrome browser, and also I am trying it from Firefox browser. On all these three browsers, whether that Amazon application is properly working fine or not, whether the UI is displaying properly fine or not, whether I can able to purchase items from this Amazon application from all these three browsers or not, and also I can able to open this Amazon application on different operating systems, that is Windows or Linux or Mac. So these are all considered under compatibility testings. Okay, so the next one here is recovery testing. So what is a recovery testing here? Recovery testing is a process of checking does our application can handle unpredictable situations like power failures, system crash. For example, I am working with some application. During I am using this application, suddenly my I got some power failure. So during this time, I can able to recover my existing session or previous session or not properly. I can able to recover my previous session or not, and also there are some chances to get your system crash. So during this time, how our application is behaving. So these will test under recovery testing. Okay, then the next one is here performance testing. So performance testing, it is a process of checking various efficiency characteristics of the system. Okay, it is a process of checking various efficiency characteristics of the system, such as response time, load, stress, transaction per minute and transaction mixture. So here load means it is also like under performance testing, load testing, validating functional behavior and performance behavior of the system under various load conditions is called as load testing. What is load testing? Validating functional behavior and performance behavior of the system under various load conditions, it is called as load testing. If the load is limited, load testing perform manually. If the load is huge, then we can automate using different tools like load runner, JMeter, Neoload, WebLoad, etc. Okay, if the load is limit, then we can check it manually. If the load is more than the limit, so then we have to depend upon some other tools like JMeter, Neoload or load runner, some etc tools where we can automate with the help of all these tools. So then what is a stress testing here? Checking how does the application behaving under stress conditions is called as stress testing. Okay, what is stress testing? Checking how does the application behaving under stress conditions is called as stress testing. For example, in an application there are more than 1000 plus users are trying to use their accounts, right? So during this time, how our application is behaving. For example, it is limited to 800 for 800 users only, but here 1000 people are accessing the application. So during this time, how our application will behave. So we are going to test with the help of this stress testing concept. So the next one is here user acceptance testing. Okay, what is user acceptance testing here? Once system testing finish, once we done with all these system testing, once we done with all the system testing so far what we discussed, so once we done with all these system testing concept, so finally we will deliver the product to end user or customer, right? Once system testing finish, we will deliver this product to end user or customer. So then customer will check delivered application is ready for live production or not, then it is called as user acceptance testing. So once system testing is finished, we will deliver the product to end user or customer. So then customer will check delivered application is ready for live or production or not, is called as user acceptance testing. User acceptance testing conducted at two stages such as alpha testing and beta testing. User acceptance testing conducted at two stages, that is alpha testing and beta testing. Here alpha testing means it is the first level of acceptance testing carried out at development premises. Carried out at development company premises. Okay, it is the first level of acceptance testing where the customer will test this application at the development company premises, that is called alpha testing. Beta testing means it is the last level of acceptance testing carried out at customer premises. Okay, what is alpha testing? The testing will carried out at development company premises by customer, that is called as alpha testing, whereas beta testing means the testing activity carried out at customer premises is called as beta testing. It is a last level. So we can have some note here. Objective of the main objective of UAT testing here is building the confidence on delivered application before using it live or not to find out the defects. Okay, what is the note here? The main note here, the objective of UAT testing is building the confidence on delivered application before using it. Okay, before using it for live, before it is taking to live, so we have to put some confidence on the delivered application. But during this UAT testing, we are not going to find any defects. Once everything is okay, then only we are going to deliver to the customer. So then he will perform this alpha testing and beta testing. The main objective of UAT testing is building the confidence on delivered application before using it for live and not to find out any defects. Okay, so that's all it for now. So I hope you people learned something from this video tutorial. So that's all it for now, guys. So if you like this video, please drop a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel Selenium Tech Automation. So please share this video so that this video will recommend for more people who are trying to look for the same concepts. So that's all it for now, guys. Until then, take care everyone, have a nice day. We will meet with our next video. Signing off, Selenium Tech Automation. Have a nice day. Bye guys.